My feeling in general is that it's simply not our responsibility. We're not going to be able to do any good. It's expensive, and it's dangerous.
You know, that's one of the biggest spenders in congressional history, and now he's worried about costs. That's like me telling you, you know, that Twinkie has a couple hundred calories, just saying. Anyway, Congressman Alan Grayson joining a bunch of fellow Democrats saying that Syria simply would cost too much. Time to clash about the cash. Michelle Field says Democrats suddenly sensing some fiscal resolve, only when it's convenient. Rick Ungar, of course, says that they should always just spend. Michelle.
Well, yeah, everyone becomes a fiscal conservative when it's politically convenient for them. But I do think it is a legitimate question. I memean, where are we going to get this money if the president and Congress does decide to intervene in Syria? Because right now we don't have the money, and the U.S. military certainly doesn't. If we decide to intervene, the military is going to have to go to Congress to get those funds because they don't have it right now with sequestration and budget cuts.
All right, but leaving aside, we're running a deficit that's never stopped us before, but what do you just make of that as a reason not to get involved?
Well, you know, look, I have to agree that Alan Grayson, as the spokesperson for saving money, is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm going to give you that. But
that's almost as bad as the ACLU getting in bed with the NRA.
Yeah, it's a little odd. So I think that was just part of his laundry list he was creating of reasons not to do this. It's one reason. I would say there are some other reasons that might even be more important. But look, you know, everybody always forgets the spending issues between Democrats and Republicans are rarely about how much we spend. It's where we spend it.
Where we spend it. Michelle, what I'm wondering here, though, is how serious this gets to be and where we ultimately go with this. Because, as both of you point out, I mean, these type of undertakings are never cheap, and they're never what they're originally billed to cost. So I guess it's Congress's way of also saying, and a number of prominent Democrats also saying, they don't take John Kerry at his word that the Arab League, or more to the point, Saudi Arabia, is going to pick up a big chunk of the tab.
Yeah, well, experts are projecting that a limited military strike in Syria would cost about $100 million. Well, that's clearly, I mean, you can never decide and project how much money a war is going to cost. You know, the Bush administration told us that Iraq was only going to cost us $50 to $60 billion. Well, that ended up not being true. It's more around $1.7 trillion. So you can't really take these people at their words. You can't guess how much a war is going to cost. And if we do decide to intervene, I think that Congress needs to explain to the American people, where are we going to get this money? Because we don't have it.
All right, let's say they do get past that they're going to go in one way or the other. Or the president is even hinting, you know, today, kind of remarkable in his press conference, that, you know, he seemed to hint that with or without congressional approval, he just might do this. But leaving that aside, then the issue becomes, all right, then how do you pay for it? Or should that even be an issue? Should you get money from some other areas? Should you nix the sequestration cuts? Should there be an understanding from Republicans and Democrats? All right, we'll nix those cuts you hate. We'll nix the cuts we hate. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a no, yes, yes. Now, look, I mean, we're in big trouble today. I agreed with everything Michelle just said. So we should probably say goodnight, folks.
Good night, folks.
How often is that going to happen? But what she said is exactly right. Look, first of all, I don't believe for a second, at least I hope not, I don't believe this president will go forward with this if he loses this vote in Congress. I would be absolutely stunned that he would do that. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Does that would mean this is all for show?
Well, and quite frankly, I think it puts him up for being impeached if he did do that. Even I will say that to you. You can't go to Congress and ask for this kind of permission and then not listen. So I don't think that'll happen. How we pay for it, let's be honest. If it is $100 million, we can pay $100 million. This is not the biggest.
It's not going to be $100 million.
Just look under the couch.
Well, we could just, you can give us a loan.
Oh, okay. All right. In the meantime, guys, the new jobs numbers are out, and the White House is pumped up about them, showing a steady trend that has the unemployment rate ticking down and job gains continuing to add up. Now, not a peep, though, about the quality of those jobs, or that so many are part-time. In fact, a record 28 million Americans are now working part-time. Michelle, you say that's the number that is most troubling and damning, right?
Yeah, and I think we're getting to sort of this part-time job America. I mean, it seems like all the jobs we're getting are part-time, and it has a lot to do with Obamacare. People don't know what's going to happen when the mandate kicks in, and it also has to do with flexibility. Employers would rather have a lot of part-time employees, and if the economy keeps getting worse, well, then they have costs under control, and if the economy gets better, they can quickly move those part-time employees to full-time employees. But the thing is, the economy's bad, and they don't know what's going to happen with Obamacare.
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful with these numbers. It's absolutely true that we're seeing an enormous number of part-time jobs created. We've been in the summer months. In the summer months, we see jobs created where? Retail, restaurants, and bars, actually. And those jobs are typically part-time jobs. Now, if we get into the fourth quarter, and we're seeing the same thing, now you've got something to be a little bit more concerned about. To blame it on Obamacare at this point, if you look at the actual data, I know it's fun to throw these things around. It's just simply not true.
All right, but even long before Obamacare, to point it, because I agree with you, it's not all Obamacare, but of the gains we've seen, 2 out of 3 have been part-time. Why is that?
But what's weird about it...
To me, if I were boss, it's because I'm a little bit skittish. Why should I commit?
I think that's legitimate. I think they are skittish to a point, but the reality is there's not that many jobs in real life that can be part-time. Some industries can. Look,
these are a disproportionate number of part-time.
Yes, but here's the weird part about it. If you look at the data on how many of them are part-time jobs where they wish they had full-time versus how many people wanted part-time, it's a surprisingly small fraction.
You are trying to put lipstick on a pig.
No, it's absolutely true. And I will tell you, it surprised me when I saw it. It was like 0.02%.
Because I think you made that up.
I did not make it up.
Really?
I actually did.
You're a very good lawyer. I just think you just came up with that.
I really didn't. It's really...
Michelle, assuming he didn't make that up because he is an honest guy when he wants to be, do you see this jobs thing continuing to erode the quality of the recovery? Not so much, again, it's inarguable to say that we have seen steady improvement in the economy. Rocky, bumpy, but by and large steady. But that this is going to stick in a lot of people's craw, that the quality of it will come back to boomerang.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the jobs report, there's nothing good about it. I mean, everything looks bad. If you look at the number of people who say that they have a job, that's dropped by 115,000, and that's not good. This is not a good recovery. I think the worrying thing here is that this is going to be steady, and we're going to have continued slow economic growth.
All right, we'll watch closely. In the meantime, guys, very good seeing you.
As always.
You don't mean it.
I do.
But I do love seeing
you. But I do.